In the Scottish cheese industry, miracles happen every day. At Errington Cheese in Lanarkshire, this newborn lamb will one day produce milk for their cheeses. An artisan business like the cheese industry ensures that traditional cheese-making methods are preserved. The shops selling these local products are an important part of a community.
You wouldn't really go into anywhere else, like supermarket, and find like a big, massive truckle like that, you know. We can sort of trace that back to the person who's made it.
In this business, like any other, there are the highs, as well as the lows.
There's a little part of me that I find that scary.
IJ Mellis is Scotland's largest cheesemonger. The company was founded in 1993 by Ian Mellis and, with 6 shops, sells a hefty wedge of the country's cheese. The cheese sold here is artisan, mostly crafted by hand or using older traditional methods. There are more than 24 cheesemakers across Scotland, with Cheddar's accounting for about 70% of the output. The industry took a hit like any other during the recession, but the past year has seen an increase in people shopping locally.
Even in the last 5 years or so, people are more aware. I think food scares were originally the loss of small shops and people sort of switching to supermarkets, and people maybe realising that local is sometimes better.
I think the cheese industry at the moment is in a healthy place because I think more people are a bit more experimental with cheeses. I do ultimately worry that if the big supermarkets wanted to put small businesses out of business, they could do tomorrow. They could just reduce all their prices and make them loss leaders and put us all out of business. And that, there's a little part of me that I find that scary. But until that time happens, it may never come, I'll continue to give great customer service and enjoy my job.
Well, from our point of view, things are very good. We're kind of up week on week. And we're opening longer hours, things like that as well, because there's more demand for cheese, both in the wholesale sector and the public sector as well. So from our point of view, things are looking pretty rosy.
So, what Scottish cheeses do we have? Well, we've got Clava Brie, which is a really nice one. I mean, Brie is one of our biggest sellers, so it's nice to offer our customers the a Scottish equivalent. That's from Inverness. It's lovely, not quite as strong as the French one. Orkney Grimbaster, which we really struggle to get, but we get it, and it's really crumbly, fresh-tasting Scottish cheese. It's kind of an equivalent of Wensleydale. And a bit of a harder version of the Orkney Grimbasters is the Anster or Ainster, depending on how you want to pronounce it. We sell a lot of that on the back of it's our most locally produced cheese, and that's what a lot of our customers want. We also have Auld Reekie, which is a great name. It's a smoked Scottish hard cheese. It's great with whiskey, and it's very popular, perhaps from the fact that it's named after a name for Edinburgh. We have Coralin, which is used from the leftover milk made with Humphrey Errington's Lanark Blue. So it's like a hard Scottish sheep's milk cheese, which is actually quite rare in Scotland. We also have, in this colder cabinet, we have the Scottish Blues, Dunsire and Lanark.
When I first started the shop 20 odd years ago, Lanark was a famous cheese back then. It was one of the first Scottish artisan cheesemakers, new wave cheesemakers, so to speak. So it was something that I thought was, we would have to have in the shop. Story behind it, it's made with sheep's milk, which is quite unusual in this country. A blue sheep's milk cheese, probably the most famous being Roquefort. So I think when Humphrey started to make it, he looked at Roquefort cheese, but it's very unique. It's very unlike Roquefort, apart from the fact that sheep's milk and it's blue.
Errington Cheese and Lanarkshire make Lanark Blue and Coralin using sheep's milk, and Dunsire Blue and Maisie's Kebbup using cows. Their Lanark Blue is famously completely handmade, using milk from their own ewes. Angela explains how it's made.
Well, we first the milk pumped over either from the farm or from the milk tank from the cow's milk. Then the starter cultures are added, and then the milk is stirred on and off till it reaches about 27 if it's Atlantic and Densire Blue. And then allowed to keep for a further hour. The temperature slowly rises to, we want it around about 31, 32, and then the rennet's added. And then from there we wait for it to coagulate. And once it's suitably hard enough, or sometimes soft enough, some of the white cheeses you want to cut a bit softer before you cut it. You cut it, then you stir it, then you're ready. When the acids get raised, there's risen to a certain level, that's when you want to get the membrane off and mould it. Then both these cheeses will get turned throughout the afternoon. And the acid also tested periodically to make sure it's still moving. The following day it's salty, then a week later it's pierced, then it's wet and mature, and it's turned on a weekly basis.
The Lanark Blue is then wrapped, labelled and delivered to suppliers all across the country. Nestling in the shadow of Easter Road Stadium in Leith, the Mellis warehouse deals with all incoming cheese. It also dispatches cheese to the 6 shops. The warehouse manager places an order for Lanark Blue, Dunsire Blue and Coralline. The cheese is delivered to the warehouse where it's stored in special fridges and eventually sent out for sale.
Maybe 80 cheeses, 70, 80 cheeses we have are of a standard, and I think that's the sort of, when we choose a new cheese, does it come to the same standard as the cheeses we've got? There's also a case of, does it fit in, or do we have too many hard territorial type cheeses, or do we have too many soft brie type cheeses? So that's a sort of, but certainly it's got to come to the standard of the cheese that we have in the shops.
If there was a yes vote in the referendum this September and we became an independent country, I've been thinking a lot about what effect that would have on IJ Mellis, and I think initially it would maybe encourage people. I think there'd be a big push to buy Scottish and support independent businesses. But in the long run, that's dependent on how successful the economy is going to be.
We know that we'll have to reapply for membership to the EU, which could cause trouble with trade and things like that. There's uncertainty in regards to the currency as well. So it's a very uncertain time, I suppose you won't really know until it happens, if it does happen.
When you go to Europe, there's a sort of a solid culture instead of a sort of something that's maybe more fashion orientated. It really is sort of something that's inbred, and I think as long as we keep going with this, then that's the culture that we should look for.
Mellis closes its doors for the night. Their hope is that the recent surge to buy local continues. The cheese industry will, for now, continue to fuse traditional methods with a resurrected culture.